Trying to.
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first. The daily podcasts are Ken and Ken in the Morning, Lions Talk with Smoking Jeremy B, Around the Indoor Football World, Shield TV, and The Big Football Show. The afternoon podcasts are Valhalla Hour, Brosef Sports, WCFL Dolphins Talk, The Cheap Seats, Bodkin Show, and Spirit of Detroit Podcast. The nightly podcasts are Hallis Hall Report, Frozen Tundra Network, Wrestling Roundup, Skull Gang 365, First and 10 with Foz, Prime Sports World, The Man Cave, Prim and Proper Sports, Spitballin' Podcast, Lions Fan Cave Chat, 313 Den Podcast, Puckett, The Guys Huddle, Main Event Football Show, Let's Talk Sports, the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast, and Off the Rails. Hope you enjoy all the shows and feel free to comment, like, share, and subscribe.
Come on.
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
All right, welcome everybody. It is another wonderful Saturday here. Most parts of the country are really rainy right now. It happens to actually be sunny out. So welcome to the show, you guys. I'm Rob, your host. I got Sir SoCal, who is our co-host, and we'll be running here throughout most of the month of July while I'm going to be gone for a while. And got Southern Skull, we got Matthew Lusteri, and we have a special guest. We got A-Dub Packers fan joining us for a Packers perspective today. So how are we doing, guys?
Doing good.
Good. Before we begin, there is something I'd like us to acknowledge. I think we want to dedicate this episode. There is a college football player who was played high school ball in the state of Minnesota. He played for the University of Southern Florida. Unfortunately, about a week ago on the 26th, passed away in Carver County, Minnesota from a car accident. So tip of the horns to him. May he rest in Valhalla.
Awesome. Yeah. So we got a couple different things we want to talk about today. We're going to do kind of a roster scrub, and we're going to pretend as if we're the GM of the Minnesota Vikings, and we're going to go position group by position group. We'll talk about who we got with all the camp bodies, who we think will make the roster, who you would cut, and then who you would like to stash in the practice squad. But first, there was a somewhat of a release here earlier from the Vikings, and we have a new look uniform here that they're going to be debuting. It's going to look kind of like this. It's going to be the new Vikings whiteout uniform, and they have, played with just wearing all white and the regular helmets in the past and everything, but this is now going to be an official uniform. So for the first time ever, the Vikings will have an alternate white helmet. And I've always been saying for years and years, I wanted to see a blackout uniform, but I'm not going to lie. These things are pretty awesome. What do you guys think about the new uniforms? First of all, it's I don't know if you guys are superstitious about stuff. I've always avoided road jerseys and white uniforms like the Black Plague because I like my entire time growing up, every time we wore white, we went on the road. It seemed like we were getting our ass kicked. But what do you guys think? Let's talk about this for a second. What do you guys think of the new uniforms?
I got my McCarthy jersey ordered. It gets here in July, so I'm excited for it.
Awesome.
I'm going to talk to my jersey guy about getting it in with my VWO name on it. But the reception I've seen from other fan bases and throughout the league, even sports talking heads have been calling this one of the sickest uniforms they have seen in a long time.
Yeah, it's pretty clean.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I do have
it's
a custom ordered.
It's badass. I like it.
The silver is a little confusing, but it's whatever. Not trying to look too much like Detroit.
Right. So A-Dub, being a Packers fan, you could probably care less one way or another. But outside perspective, you don't have a dog in this hunt. You don't have a horse in this race. What do you think? Are the white uniforms pretty tight? They're pretty clean. What do you think?
It's a nice look for Minnesota. I mean, it almost makes you almost similar to the Bengals in a way, but they're the white out there, but it's a nice look for you.
Cool. Oh, glad to have your perspective on that. We don't have a lot of really new developments, and this is the worst time of the year because everybody's in a holding pattern. A lot of teams had like, oh, come on, dogs. Oh man, a lot of teams, finished up, spring activities, OTAs, mini camps, rookie camps, blah blah blah. Got to see some of our rookies perform and everything. Before we start going into our roster, whatever, just all the way around the NFC North, anything you guys want to bring up as a topic prior to that, before we actually start any kind of discussion?
I don't.
Not really. Okay. Well, we do have a couple Detroit trolls chiming in here. Darcy's right off the bat says that JJ is too expensive and we should cut him. Thanks for joining in, Darcy. It's been a year or two. No, we're not cutting JJ. In fact, we made JJ the highest paid non-quarterback in the league for a reason. So.
Well, there is a piece of NFC North news that has been floating around in the past 24 hours. People are thinking now that Thielen has been working out with McCarthy, that Thielen's going to want to come back. I mean, yes, he's a fan favorite. He's an all-time fan favorite, but we're trying to get younger, and the only way to win a Super Bowl is to get younger. Yes, I could see him coming back as a practice squad or a wide receivers coach, but not playing.
What most people are missing with that whole story is Thielen was in town to do his football camp in Detroit Lakes. There wasn't any other reason to be here. He was doing his football camp out in Detroit Lakes.
I forgot about the Detroit Lakes thing.
Yeah, so that's why he was in town.
Right.
So.
Do you guys think Thielen regrets his decision to not take a big pay cut and stay with the Vikings? I can't put myself in his shoes, but if I was him right now and just seeing, it's going to be a year lull or whatever with a bridge quarterback, then you got a rookie you're trying to develop. But honestly, even if Nick Mullins was the quarterback, I think he would have been better off, not chasing that money or whatever, but only he can speak for himself. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, according to Thielen, he was never offered any money by the Vikings.
Okay.
So, I mean, that just looks like they, like we were saying, wanted to go younger and didn't want. I mean, I'm sure they wanted him, but at what price? They were probably going to wait him out.
Yeah.
The way I look at it is Bryce Young happened to be one of the worst quarterbacks taken in that first round last year. It was terrible. It felt like a slow moving car accident with the Panthers. They just couldn't find their stride at all. You had, of course, you had Adam Thielen, one of the most seasoned and seasoned wide receivers in the entire NFL, and you still couldn't get the job done. Yes, honestly, does some of that boil down to David Tepper, the owner? Possibly. But,
Mhm.
honestly, I think he is regretting it. Again, Bryce Young got smoked last year by so many different quarterbacks that it wasn't even funny.
Well,
You
Thielen
could
was
say,
pretty much the only guy he had out there. Everybody else was hot garbage.
I would say that, and say that like when Bryce Young was drafted, he didn't have much built around him at the time. He didn't have nobody reliable outside of Thielen, and even that running back room was not all that great. And the defense that they put together, it wasn't so good either. So Bryce Young, so to me, it's like Bryce Young was just in a bad situation when he got drafted. Like that team was nowhere near prepared for any kind of run that year. Maybe with the new pieces they bring in, he should have a better year.
And then the fact that David Tepper came out and said, "Well, that wasn't the quarterback we were meaning to select."
Yeah, I think there's an element of dysfunction over there. We'll just say it that way. At some point in time, Thielen will come home. He'll probably get the reception that it's that hometown boy kind of thing, and he'll probably get a better reception than Jared Allen did the other year when he came riding back in on his horse and got put up in the ring and whatever. I think Thielen's guaranteed that, and I think Thielen would be useful on either the wide receiver as a wide receivers type of coach. Special teams, remember, he earned a way onto the roster by special teams prowess. And he literally had to start from practice squad to special teams to getting a role on the offense. And, it's just a wonderful story of taking advantage of every opportunity you've been given and making the most of it, So in that regard, I think Thielen, it is going to be welcome back someday as a player, though. Matthew Chesterton, I got to agree with you. I don't believe he'll play another snap in Minnesota. So.
But his story is one of those of motivation. Any kid in any sport that does not get drafted and that works your ass off, you can end up like him, being an inspirational story to a lot of people.
Yep. So we got another guest joining us. We from the Ken and Ken show in the morning, which is on the Sir Rocker page every day. It's on the Viking Rob Twitter account. We've got Ken the Packer fan here, the bearded Packer fan joining us. Thank you very much, Ken, for coming on today. So what we're looking at doing today is, like right before you got on, we were talking. Teams have now wrapped up whatever mini camps, rookie camps, OTAs, and stuff that they've got going on. Going to be heading into training camp real soon. So, with training camp comes hard decisions that have to be made because right now you have something like 90 guys on your roster, and by the time 2 short months from now, that's going to have to get down to 53. So I wanted to sit and we'll go through the Vikings roster, and if we have time, we can talk, since we got a couple Packers fans on here, about some guys that you'd like to, look at for on your rosters too and everything. But I wanted to just go position group by position group, and we're gonna it's not really a game, but we're just gonna do one of these things that let's pretend you're the Vikings GM today, so you can keep, cut, or try to stash in the practice squad, and keep in mind. You can't have 5-10 of everything around it, like offensive linemen, everything. There's a lot, but let's start off with quarterbacks. So right now, currently rostered on the Vikings, you have Sam Darnold, JJ McCarthy, Nick Mullins, and Jaron Hall. the likelihood of the Vikings keeping 4 quarterbacks on the roster is pretty much zero. I can tell you that right now. The wild cards are going to be, Jaron Hall, that was a late round draft pick last year, and then Nick Mullins, the journeyman. If you're the GM, are you cutting anybody and then trying to stash them on the practice squad? Are you going to outright cut anybody? Are we keeping 2 QBs? Are we keeping 3? What do you think is going to happen here, guys? And just go ahead and jump in.
I would have to say Mullins. I would just straight up cut and try to stash Hall on the practice squad, and hopefully you guys are able to keep McCarthy on the bench for this season, and Sam Darnold does well for you. That way you can kind of drip feed the NFL to him a little bit.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Well, don't you get to keep a third now because of the quarterback injury situation a couple of years ago? You get to stash a third dress without it counting against a roster spot. I think we keep Mullins and McCarthy because Mullins, I think they want to put McCarthy on the bench as much as possible. I think if something were to happen with Darnold, Mullins would get the next man up.
Yeah, I think they got rid of that whole the extra dress quarterback. I think that's going away this year, if I read the article right.
Okay, shit.
So, to me, I see it there, and that's just what I was going to say. I was going to say try to trade McCarthy, or not McCarthy, Mullins.
People would kill that.
Right? No. I'd say try to trade Mullins if you can. If not, stash Hall on the practice squad and keep 3.
Yeah.
Part of me loves seeing Nick Mullins average 420 yards against the Lions. I just don't like the 4 and 5 interceptions that comes with it,
Right.
I mean, you God bless the guy. He's a man after Brett Favre's own heart. He is a gunslinger, but boy, he throws a lot of interceptions. That's the problem. What? Any other opinions on the quarterback room? I think it's reasonable that you have 2 on the roster and 1 that you can elevate from the practice squad. That's what I think is reasonable.
Yeah.
I personally wish there was a way to and this is bad because we did just draft Jaron Hall last year, but from everything I've seen, I'm going to lead with this. We have not seen a big enough sample size other than Jaron Hall absolutely getting destroyed by the Green Bay Packers at home. We've seen nothing of him. So if the coaches think that they still want to put time and effort into that, I think Nick Mullins gets you more right away because you know exactly what you have with Nick Mullins, and he can sling it all the way down. He can hit JJ and Addison and Hawkinson and stuff down the field. We don't know what we've got with Jaron Hall. And I don't want to be that guy that says, okay, cut a guy that's in his second year that was a late round draft pick. Because, they haven't even begun to develop the guy yet. But I would like to see a way for Nick Mullins to make this roster. But if I had to say, I think you do run with Darnold, McCarthy, and then you've got Jaron Hall on the practice squad. Although Kwesi has shown he's not afraid to cut ties with a guy. We're definitely going to be having that discussion when we get down to corner and safety. And you guys know what's coming there. But let's talk about running backs now. One of our most woeful positions last year. So we went and pulled the trigger right away, and we got Aaron Jones from the Green Bay Packers, much to the chagrin of some Green Bay Packers fans and everything. And I tell you, Ken and A-Dub, is the second that I seen it pop up that he was let go. Like, you know what, Minnesota, go get him. First of all, it'd be the most Viking thing ever to do. Secondly, I think just watching his playoff run at the end with all that juice in the tank and him just, handing Dallas their ass. Taking San Francisco down to the wire. They really couldn't do much to stop him either. Really happy. And then Alexander Madison has departed, but we have Ty Chandler. We have Myles Gaskin, who injury problems. We haven't got to see hardly much of him, but he did good things when he wasn't injured down there in Miami. We have Dwayne McBride coming in on his second year. And then, of course, we have our kick returner, Kane Gwangwu, our little lightning rod, our speed demon, and then CJ Ham at fullback. So again, if I had to rank a depth chart there, I'm saying Aaron Jones number one by a mile, and then you've got Ty Chandler, Myles Gaskin, Dwayne McBride, and Keenan Gwangwu, and CJ Ham has his own role as a fullback. Let's not even bother with Ham because I'm pretty sure they'll keep a fullback on the roster. What do you think about these running backs? Are we going to try to retain them all in one fashion or another with a roster spot, special teams designation, or practice squad? What do you guys think about this running back room?
I think McBride's a clean cut. I think if Gaskin can stay healthy, he takes McBride's spot on the roster. That's too many running backs to roster, even with the practice squad. I think McBride is as good as gone. Ty Chandler, I think, is pretty much the clear cut number 2, so he's obviously going to stay. Nwangwu, we'll use him for returns. So yeah, we'll see if Gaskin even stays. I guess I don't know.
I'm going to cut McBride, and I'm practice squatting Gaskin just because of the health issues. I would like to see what he could do in case Jones or Chandler do get hurt. Then he could definitely step up and fill a big void.
I was going to say that's the only thing you got to worry about with Aaron Jones. When he's healthy, he's one of the top 5 running backs in the league, but he's been injured quite often. So you got to have a couple people in the pipeline to put up, because you got to assume, at least from his recent history, he's going to miss a couple of games.
So, yeah, exactly. Mine, of course, you got Jones and Chandler 1-2. I'm practice squatting Gaskins. I'm cutting Kane, and I'm keeping McBride.
Oh,
and I'll get to the.
You're going to cut.
To the kick return part in a minute. I'll get to the kick return part in a minute.
Okay, that's fair. I'm not an Iowa State fan, but I mean, 2 years ago, the guy did have like a couple return touchdowns for us. One against the Patriots, and I don't. Okay, well, we'll discuss kick returner. Any other discussion on running back stuff?
Can't get much worse.
No, me personally, I think they'll find a way to. Unfortunately, if there's going to be an odd man out and we can't use special teams justification, it's going to be Nwangwu. I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him try and run Aaron Jones, Myles Gaskin, and Ty Chandler, and have all 3 of them activated. And if you're going to do anything with practice squad, put Dwayne McBride on that and activate him for emergencies. But yeah, they have a lot of options of stuff they can do. And the nice thing of it is you got all those guys that, can do special teams and that have done special teams kind of stuff too. So, okay. Are you guys ready? This one's going to be long. We're going to get into wide receiver in no particular order. You got Jordan Addison, N'Keal Harry, Lucky Jackson, Christian Jackson, Ty James, Justin Jefferson, Deshaun Jones, Malik Knowles, Jalen Naylor, Brandon Powell, Trent Sherfield, and Thayer Thomas. Now, there's a lot of guys in there we don't even need to mention twice because we know they're camp bodies, but of guys that you think would like to make the roster that's not named Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, let's just start off first with talking between Brandon Powell, Jalen Naylor, and Tristan Jackson and N'Keal Harry, because those guys did get time basically last year and stuff. What do you guys think for wide receivers 3, 4, and 5?
Tristan Jackson, kind of the same. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go.
Tristan Jackson, he also struggled to stay healthy and was kind of iffy last year when he did get the chance. I'm not convinced Ty Johnson doesn't get a chance, or not Ty Johnson, Ty James. He's got some pretty sticky hands. We talked about him a few episodes ago, and he's a decent-sized body too. So I think he has a definite chance of making one of the top 5.
Right on.
So Naylor, I like Naylor a lot. He just, going back to his time at Michigan State, cannot stay healthy.
Right.
Powell is great. I think he's going to fit a better wide receiver 4 just because he's so small, and I think a good wide receiver 3 needs to block, which is where I bring in my kick returner, and Malik Knowles makes that 3-4 slot as the wide receiver this year.
I'm going to cut Tristan Jackson and Ty James, practice squad, Jashwan Jones, and Malik Knowles.
Okay.
I'll be on the Ty James island.
Any other comments on? I mean, we know who the starters are going to be, and I feel like Brandon Powell is going to be the number 3 personally, and I think Jalen Naylor will be the number 4. And I don't know what they keep seeing with Tristan Jackson, but I will bet you, barring us picking up a camp cut, that he's in there at number 5. For practice squad, I'd like to see N'Keal Harry and probably Malik Knowles at least be stashed in the practice squad, and then like Sherfield and Thayer Thomas, I just think are camp bodies at this point. So,
Rob, you got to remember they moved Harry to tight end.
Oh shit, that's right. I am going off of bad. That is right. They move. Okay, so you take that out of the equation, then that might open up something for a guy like Jashwan Jones or Sherfield, because Sherfield's brought in, at 6'1", 206 pounds. He's a bigger guy in that group. Okay, probably one of the biggest guys in the group. Do they want to have a great big guy as like a wide receiver 5, and then can he play special teams? I think is going to be the big question, because he's going to have to earn his living on special teams and then be brought in on situational packages on the offense if they're running like 5 wide or if they've got injuries and stuff like that. Is there anybody you would be fine with just not being on the team at all? Is anybody here a Tristan Jackson or a Lucky Jackson hater?
No, I like Lucky Jackson quite a bit. I think, but that group is so many that I think have potential.
Yeah. All right, let's talk to our Packer fans here. Of everybody that we're naming that's not Jordan Addison and not Justin Jefferson, who do you not want to see lined up if you're the Green Bay Packers? Who would you just as soon not see? If it's Brandon Powell or Jalen Naylor or Lucky Jackson, Tristan Jackson, any of these guys, who do you think makes the Vikings better that you really don't want to see out there as an opponent?
I was going to say, I don't know enough about those other guys to sit there and say that, hey, I'm worried about them or to say that I'm not worried about them. So I'm not going to go on a tangent and put my foot in my mouth.
Okay, that's cool. A-Dub, you got any opinions on and yes, I mean, that's about as hard as us looking at your depth guys that may or may not make the roster and trying to make an educated opinion. But did you have any input on that, A-Dub?
Not as much. I mean, the way I look at it is, you're at some of the guys you might have mentioned, like Ty James or Jashwan Jones, those guys you may have picked up as far as undrafted free agents, supposedly. I could see the upside from them and anyone else ahead of them. It's just gonna be a long process for me.
Right.
Like, I can't really say who makes it and who doesn't.
Okay. Well, let's move on to another complicated situation. So here's the thing. We're going to hit tight end group. TJ Hawkinson, if he actually starts the season on the PUP list, they can't activate him until week 7. Okay. Which is why they went out and they signed Robert Tonyan, which, I mean, Ken is sitting here laughing because he's seen 5 years of memes that I've made about.
Well, we're going to say, if Tonyan can get back to his old form, he's not a bad tight end. The guy's got good hands.
Yeah.
But ever since that freaking knee injury, he has been god awful. I don't know what the hell happened. If it's kind of psyched him out a bit and he's trying to overcompensate for the knee injury, worried about getting it again or something. But he did god awful for us and for the Bears too.
You could say a knee, like certain injuries like that, somebody will regress in terms of losing a step. Like they're not going to be efficient and fluid in their route trees as they used to be. That's the way that injury lingers, and their production will dip down a bit too.
Yep. Okay, so let's say, for the sake of argument, the most realistic scenario is we are not able to have Hawkinson until week 7, in which case he'll be 100% fully healed by then, and we don't have any question marks. We're not cringing every time he gets hit, for the first 6 games, okay? So your other options are Josh Oliver, who I think is a lock on the roster because he's tight end 2 and the blocking tight end on the team. Then of guys that are going to play the Hawkinson role, you've got Robert Tonyan, you've got Nick Muse, who, we laugh about this guy because he is if you aren't following Nick Muse on social media, you're missing a lot of shit. Johnny Munt, who's rather reliable. And then you've got Samus Reyes and Trey Knox, who I really don't think are going to factor into things. We also need some guys in the practice squad. So what does this look like to start the season, you think?
Yeah, that's the tough one because Munt and Muse both made plays last year when they came in. So
yeah,
it's kind of they're neck and neck to me. I've already been outspoken versus Tonyan for the reasons that were already provided. It's just he hasn't shown over the last few years that he can be a reliable tight end. I think he was brought in just for depth purposes. He's going to be fighting to make the team. He might be a practice squatter, if not just straight up cut. Yeah.
So for
go ahead, Matt.
So for now, this is who I have: Oliver, Munt, and Tonyan until Hawkinson returns. So that means we're going to cut Knox and Reyes and practice squad Muse.
Ooh. If I'm PT right now, seeing that the Giants starting tight end just retired, I'm shopping Munt for sure, and maybe Muse to see if they'll bite on a late round draft pick trade. I like doing trades, I guess.
Yeah,
but I would definitely be shopping. One of our guys to the Giants. I think I'd like to keep Knox on the practice squad, but I think that's going to be hard to do. That's a tough call. I'm not a huge Munt fan. That's my problem. I'd like to keep Muse, Tonyan, and Oliver because I really like Oliver's receiving ability when he gets a shot because that's what his draft report was receiving tight end. So he's got the ability. It's just a matter of if he can fit in with the group, I guess, and be that tight end 1 and blocking tight end at the same time. So that's a tough role to do. So I'm guessing Oliver, Tonyan, Muse, and Knox on the practice squad. I'm cutting Munt.
Cool.
Even the Giants.
I look at things. So I like Muse better than Munt. And if you actually look at things realistically, Johnny Munt is the smallest out of that group. Even Trey Knox is 6'3", 240. Munt is 6'4", 233. Everybody else is at least they're 6'5". This Samus Reyes, he's 6'7", 240. Josh Oliver, the big guy, 260. Nick Muse is 6'5", 252. And I like Muse a little better than I like Munt. I would just, if we were had to choose, and it comes between Muse and Munt, which I really do think it's going to, I'd rather see Muse try and get his opportunities if it's me.
And again, we forgot about Harry again. He's in this mix.
And Keel Harry.
We got a timeout. We have to do the mid roll.
Oh yes, we do have a commercial we have to roll, and then we'll come back and we'll hit offensive line.
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first. The daily podcasts are Ken and Ken in the Morning, Lions Talk with Smoke and Jeremy B, Around the Indoor Football World, Shield TV, and The Big Football Show. The afternoon podcasts are Valhalla Hour, Brosef Sports, WCFL Dolphins Talk, The Cheap Seats, Vikings Show, and Spirit of Detroit Podcast. The nightly podcasts are Hallis Hall Report, Frozen Tundra Network, Wrestling Roundup, Skull Gang 365, First and 10 with Foz, Prime Sports World, The Man Cave, Prim and Proper Sports, Spitballin' Podcast, Lions Fan Cave Chat, 313 Den Podcast, Puckett, The Guys Huddle, Main Event Football Show, Let's Talk Sports, The Michigan Sports Truth Podcast, and Off the Rails. Hope you enjoy all the shows and feel free to comment, like, share, and subscribe.
All right, we are back. We were just wrapping up the tight end discussion, and the point was brought up, and N'Keal Harry has been moved to tight end. I do feel like he'll still live on special teams, though, and that will be the justification for that.
I was going to say, I wouldn't mind seeing him get a shot to play at tight end for a bit, because he does have the talent. It's just for whatever reason, this guy cannot pull it all together.
Yeah, he has a hard time sticking on a team, you know.
Yeah.
The only other comment I'll say, would it be the funniest thing in the world if Tanyan, who is now, and I don't know how many times this has happened, how many players have been on all 4 teams in their division?
Not many.
Not very many, but if he comes in and at least gets the chance at the beginning of the year because Hawkinson's not coming back to week 7 and has like one of the best starts to in his career and comes back, how fucking funny is that going to be?
Just complete resurgence, yeah.
Yeah. Guy couldn't make it with anyone else, goes to the Vikings and ends up finding the fountain of youth over there.
Right?
With Sam Darnold.
That would piss me right off. I'll tell you, when Tanyan was coming up and after that breakout season that he had, I was expecting real big things from him. I was figuring he was going to be one hell of a receiving tight end. And then the whole derailment of his career with that injury flipped that right upside down. He made me eat my words like you wouldn't believe.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, and unfortunately that happens. You know, one injury, we've seen it ourselves. Our superstar quarterback from the early 2000s, Culpepper, was on fire. I mean, they were doing articles on ESPN called Dante's Inferno, tearing shit up. Massive, devastating knee injury, and boy, that guy come back and it's like he just couldn't play football at all. I mean, it was over fast. And, you know, some people make a comeback. Some people just don't, and unfortunately, a lot more don't than what do. You know, but I'm happy to see Big Bob get a chance, despite the fact that I'm still searching back for 3 to 4 years worth of memes that I've made about him and trying to delete them on different social media groups. But let's move on to offensive line. Okay, Packer fans, this is where the Viking fans get really pissy about stuff because our offensive line has a lot to be desired when you're talking about anybody that is not named Brian O'Neill or Christian Darrisaw. So this is what we have to work with right now. So at center, we have Garrett Bradbury and Michael Juergens. At guard, we have Blake Brandel, who has just re-signed and everything on purpose, you know, specifically to vie for a starting role. Henry Berg, Dan Feeney, who we picked up from the Bears as a free agent. Ed Ingram, who has been the most lambasted guy on this show since this show's been on the air. Doug Nestor is definitely a backup. Dalton Reisner brought back in, and he was kind of a fan favorite with some, and then there's some that really didn't like him last year. I met him in person, got my picture with him at the American Legion in Rosemount, south of Minneapolis there. I think he's a great guy, definitely better as a pass blocker than a run blocker. We got Tyrese Robinson for depth. Now, tackles, you have the man who is eventually going to get the next biggest paycheck on the Vikings. That's Christian Darrisaw, the starting left tackle. For backup, you have Jeremy Flax, and then you have Brian O'Neill, who's definitely going to be the starting right tackle, barring any kind of unforeseen trade. And then you've got David Quisenberry, who was re-signed on purpose. For that, Spencer Rowland and Walter Rouse, one of the more interesting guys that you're going to see on this line because he's 6'6" and 313, a little bit of a later round draft pick, but has just absolutely impressed with his pass blocking and run blocking abilities in the camps so far. We know we have a problem at center. We know we have a problem at for sure right guard. God, you guys, what are we doing with this mess this year? Eric, go ahead and I don't even know how you start with this, but go ahead and try.
Okay, I'm gonna list my starting five and then go into depth. Darisaw, Brandel, Bradbury,
Yep,
Reisman, and O'Neal are the starting five. Quisenberry is going to be the swing tackle. We'll keep Juergens around to be the backup center.
right. Oh shoot, we just lost internet. Well, to be fair, my internet has been awful today. As if you guys can't tell with the lag, and it takes forever to get a graphic up or whatever. We'll get him on as soon as he's able to get back on. Let's just move to Matthew Listeri. Go ahead with what you think. I mean, this is kind of a mess. Give me your best shot at this.
So, did we move on from Schlottman?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I don't recall that. I thought he actually played pretty well in the backup spot for center. So this Juergens guy, I guess we'll see how he does. But
we'll get right back to you, Eric. We're going with Matthew, and then you can finish.
No, I mean, I was basically going to pair what he was saying. He nailed the starting five. I think the backup for tackle is definitely going to be Quisenberry. He looked good last year as well because Darisaw did miss some games. I am also definitely excited to see Rouse. I think he's going to play. I mean, his native position is tackle, but I think he is going to be a guard for us. So, I mean, we might not have better starters than last year, but I think we do have more depth.
Right on. Okay. Go ahead and finish yours, Eric, and then we'll move to Chesty, and then we'll get outside input from the Packer fans.
I think I'd like to see Freeney stick around, but I think he may be a cut. Rouse may be a practice squad guy. I think he's got potential to be one of the starting guards if they choose to move him in. These other guys, I think they're camp bodies, really, honestly, most of them. I think we keep probably 9 O-line, maybe 8. I don't think most teams keep more than 10 ever. So yeah, I think a lot of these guys are going to be camp bodies, really, and maybe 1 or 2 will make a practice squad spot. But and the depth is like he was saying is way better. The starting is still questionable, but the depth is much better.
Yep. Chesty?
I'm going to switch on the offensive tackles. I'm going to put in Rouse and take out Quisenberry. I just got a feeling from the footage I've seen, he's hungry. He wants to play, and he can also play guard too. If, that should happen. I mean, because on the guard side, Nestor's going to be cut. Robinson, I'm going to practice squad him. And like I said, Rouse definitely could play guard, and our center is definitely going to be the one and only Garrett Bradbury.
Yeah. Ken and A-Dub, you guys have the last time you watched your team play the Vikings, your defense just absolutely fucking destroyed our offensive line at home. It was bad, and we've had a couple people point out that like this comment here from Casey, the line was terrible that night. Darisaw's worst game as a pro. We had injuries all over the place, and you guys handled business. You came in and stomped the ever living shit out of us. Everything. What's your opinion on the fact of the Viking situation with 2 really good, all Pro Bowl tackles, and then doing all this mix match and everything with center and guard and everything in the middle? you probably like to see it with the pass rush that you've got and everything.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to sit here and try and rub it in that you guys have a horrible interior line, and with it being Barry's defense, that defense did it to you. But with having the good tackles that you guys have, you definitely have a foundation to build off of for next year. That's why I've been almost shouting from the mountaintops that JJ better not see the field a single play this season. Do not let him get beat up and end up going the route David Carr, where he gets ruined for a while. That let Sam Darnold sit there and get all that pressure in his face, because we kind of know what you get with Sam Darnold.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Yep.
when I look back over his career, it's like I said before to myself that the biggest problem I get out of Sam Darnold is he's too turnover prone throughout most part of his career. But then I think, does that have to do with the talent, or is it about what he usually has around him when it came to the teams that he played for? But there's a good chance. But I'm thinking, with the talent he's got now over there in Minnesota right now, if Sam Darnold can take on a mere game manager type role for you guys, he'll be okay. That'd be the best chance to keep JJ bench for a while and let him watch and absorb, is if Sam Darnold can be efficient with a game manager type role.
Okay, and then Aaron Jones is a pretty good blocker too, so he's going to help that pressure coming up the middle a little bit. Granted, he's still a smaller running back, so he's not going to be able to do a whole shitload of stuff for you, but he will make life easier.
Does anybody play Madden that's on here?
Yeah.
What is this all about?
Yep.
The Vikings had the highest overall in the division, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, JJ helps bring this number way up for you guys, and it's not like you guys. It's not like you guys have a horrible team. It's that you have really bad couple of positions here and there, and overall, I actually kind of like your guys' roster for being division rivals.
Right.
Well, and this is another thing I've brought up a couple times, is there's still that free agent center, Christian Wilkins, I think his name is. And he's graded better than Bradbury. He's a bigger size than Bradbury. And we have the cap space. We have 24, 25 million right now. I mean, there's still camp cuts as well, so we can obviously change up the interior O-line depending on who's available. But I don't understand why we haven't at least reached out to be like, hey, Bradbury, he's just so small.
I think with like what you're saying, with a guy like that, they probably have reached out. I think that's an option, but I'm also thinking they're going to sit and they're going to wait to see once camp cuts, because center is pretty much center. You can bring a guy in 2 weeks before the regular season starts, plug him in at center if he's a veteran, and you should be okay, unless you're a team that pulls your center a lot when you run different, run schemes and whatever else. I'm thinking they're waiting to see, because Wilkins is going to get more money than your average guy. And I'm thinking they're waiting to see. They want to see if there's any surprise roster cuts that they can go out. So I want to do
if they wait till after week 1 and sign a veteran, the money's not guaranteed.
Right.
There's some kind of loophole in there. If they sign them before the season starts, there's a lot more guaranteed money for veterans than if they wait till after week 1. So if he's still sitting there week 2, they may try to make a deal.
Yeah.
So this hour has really flown by. What I want to do, and this is going to be a little bit different because there's like 25 guys here. The Vikings are running on paper a 3-4 defense, which doesn't mean shit the way Flores does things. So I want to go through everybody that's a defensive end, defensive tackle, and a linebacker, which is a lot. I want to throw out some names. I'll give you my quick opinion on each one of these guys as we're going through. And let's discuss who you think the core contributors are going to be. And then if there's one guy or two guys out there that you're sick and tired of seeing on this team and you'd just rather see them all, go ahead and put that. So I'm going to start out defensive ends. We have Jonathan Bullard, Jonah Williams. I've seen enough of Bullard. He can go. Defensive tackle, James Lynch and Tyler Manoa. I really don't care. Harrison Phillips, Jalen Redmond. Levi Drake Rodriguez, the 7th-round draft pick, listed at 6'4", 290, is close to 305 now. And then Jaquelin Roy, that we've talked about in past weeks, who is also 6'3", 305. Some interesting things in there because we don't have that guy, next to Harrison Phillips and everything. That's that traditional, big nose tackle that we've always wanted. And then, of course, you've got Jerry Tillery. We've had plenty of Jerry Tillery discussion back here. Linebackers, you got Brian Asamoah. I do believe this is one of the times where Kwesi will just eat a little bit crow, and he's going to the practice squad. Abraham Bullplan probably not making it. Andre Carter, too, from the Army. Real good feel-good story. But this guy is 6'6" and 256, and, he's behind the power curve because of playing at West Point. We talked about this in the past weeks, of not being able to bulk up to get to where he needs to be and whatever. Free agent, one of the big free agent signings, Blake Cashman from the Texans, definitely going to be on this roster. You got a couple camp bodies here in KJ Cloyd and Dallas Gant. I think they're straight up cuts. The other big signing, or one of the 3 big signings, Jonathan Grenard from the Texans, definitely going to be a starting pass rusher. You have Camus Greener Hill, who is a cut. Patrick Jones, too. He's had every opportunity in the world. I think they signed enough free agents where he's not going to get his chance, and I think he might be a trade candidate or a cut candidate. Gabriel Murphy, the intriguing undrafted top free agent in the nation, the highest ranked guy, and we got him for the 2nd year in a row, similar to what we did with Ivan Pace last year. I really think there'll be a spot on this roster. And then, of course, you have Ivan Pace Jr., Owen Porter, Bo Richter, probably both cuts. Dallas Turner, our number 1 draft pick. Looking forward to things. And then the 3rd big free agency signing, Andrew Van Ginkel from the Dolphins. Definitely be in there. But then don't forget, we also went and grabbed veteran Jihad Ward. I think they'll find a spot for him on the team. That's a lot. But then all we have is corners and safeties left. So is there anybody in here that you would disagree with that you think, I think this guy's a dark horse candidate, or a guy that I said I think is going to make the team that you guys think should probably be off of it?
I would say I forget his name, the D tackle, probably more of a nose guard. The Samoan kid,
Levi Drake,
Tyler
Manoa.
No,
no,
it's not, his last name's. Tamani. I think he's a long shot, and I don't think Jihad Ward is a guarantee to make this team. But I think he's a long shot to make it move tackle, just because we need a big body.
They didn't give Jihad a lot of guaranteed money, so if he is a cut or whatever, I guess I can see that being a gamble that paid off, and he was going to be depth anyways. But go ahead, guys.
I'm excited to see Jaquelin Roy. I heard talk about him being a reason why we didn't target defensive tackle in the draft, is because they do believe that he could take a step in his 2nd year. Again, he's not the biggest guy, but neither is Ivan Pace, but he knows how to anchor his weight, and he knows how to deliver with the size he does have. So hopefully Roy can do something along those lines. Those position groups in general, I feel like it's kind of like the Packers receiving corps. There's no absolute stud in either of those groups, but that's a lot of solid players. Like I haven't seen that much depth at linebacker, edge, defensive tackle altogether in a long time. So hopefully the overall strong players can make up for the lack of that legitimate star power.
Yeah, and at pass rush, we have pass rush coming out the ears on this team now. The only thing we can't do is run stuff, which I honestly think with all the additions we made, we actually, if you added numbers up of what you have with Daniil Hunter and DJ Wanham last year versus all these guys that we got now that are dedicated pass rushers, outside linebackers and whatever, I think we have higher numbers this year than we did last year with Daniil Hunter, and I love Daniil Hunter.
I honestly think there's one guy who I'm keeping an eye on who is a big dark horse who will fit in somewhere on this team, is Bo Richter from Air Force. Now he's 6'1", 248, again behind the curve because of height and weight standards set by the military. He could be off the ball. He could be definitely a special teamer, but he will fit into the Flores scheme somehow.
Yeah. Any?
I think you're right.
Go ahead.
I said I think he could fit in as that depth at off the ball, and definitely have some special team experience coming in.
Yep. Okay, we are hitting that 5-minute mark. I do want to get through the secondary real quick. So we got Mekhi Blackman, who I believe will have a very solid role this year. He impressed last year as a rookie. Booth, I believe Kwesi's going to cut him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Caleb Evans, he'll have a role. AJ Green, 3, he's gone. Shaquille Griffin, I think, will be a starter. Kyrie Jackson, the rookie this year out of Oregon, I think by the end of the year will have himself a very nice role. Dwight McGlothern is probably practice squad. Byron Murphy Jr. is our cornerback 1. Najee Thompson, they'll keep him, but he'll play special teams and be backup. Jalen Williams probably practice squad. And then at safety, Cam Bynum, he's a starter. Lewis Seen, cut.
Bye-bye.
Theo Jackson, depth. Josh Metellus plays every position there freaking is on the defense, definitely on there. Harrison Smith, the other starter for one more year. And then Jay Ward got the highest rave reviews out of anybody in the camp. He'll be on the roster. And that rounds things out for what we're doing here. We've discussed the kicker position in weeks past. We know our rookie's going to end up getting it. What do you guys think in the secondary here quick? Because we have about 4 minutes, and then we're going to have to sign off so that the next show can go on. But go ahead and give me your thoughts on that.
I'll just say McLeodern's another one they've been saying in camp to kind of watch out for. He's impressed with the amount that he's put out. So we'll see what he's got to offer.
Big shout out to Who Dat Nation. Thanks for watching.
Lewis Seen is going to be seeing the door.
Yep.
Yeah, he got it.
Yep.
Yeah. And I like to think that.
Yeah, he either's cut or traded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Lewis Seen. I like to think. Yeah, Vikings definitely might regret that first round pick being used on him, especially given what was expected of him coming in at that position.
Yeah,
that was a pretty brutal way.
Yeah, I'm excited to see if Shaquille Griffin, if I can talk properly. I'm excited to see if he can get a bit of a resurgence with you guys, because I've always kind of liked him as a corner. And, even though you guys are rivals, I still wouldn't mind seeing him do well.
Right. And that kid you got from Oregon, Kyrie Jackson, part of me had looked at his credentials and think y'all might have a mere steal with him as far as a corner, like especially with the kind of build he has, to where you can match him up against a big body receiver if he manages to get his footing and his speed down all practice. He might prove to be a steal and a good depth piece for you guys if he gets the right development.
Hopefully.
Right. Before we punch out here, I do believe we have the we've got the Bengals show coming up next, I think. But Lacey's on here. Do you think the Vikings are better than the Saints? Well, the Vikings and Saints fans have no love lost at all. The problem is, I think both teams could be a 5-win team, and both teams could be a 9-10 win team if things went right. We have the harder schedule by a mile, in my opinion, especially at the beginning of the year. After week 1, we go right. We start off right with San Francisco, and we have a murderer's row for like 5 weeks. Yeah, it's going to be. Well, that's hard to say. I don't know. I think our skill positions on offense and our pass rush on defense is better than the Saints, but the Saints do have some things going that's better than us too. So that's a real hard one. But we are at the end of the show. I do want to thank everybody for watching and for joining us, and look forward to seeing you guys next week. And you guys have a great one until then. Skol.
Skull.
This is a Huddle Sports Network
Going.
broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first. The daily podcasts are Ken and Ken in the Morning, Lions Talk with Smoke and Jeremy B, Around the Indoor Football World, Shield TV, and The Big Football Show. The afternoon podcasts are Valhalla Hour, Brosef Sports, WCFL Dolphins Talk, The Cheap Seats, Bodkin Show, and Spirit of Detroit Podcast. The nightly podcasts are Hallis Hall Report, Frozen Tundra Network, Wrestling Roundup, Skull Gang 365, First and 10 with Foz, Prime Sports World, The Man Cave, Prim and Proper Sports, Spitballin' Podcast, Lions Fan Cave Chat, 313 Den Podcast, Puckett, The Guys Huddle, Main Event Football Show, Let's Talk Sports, The Michigan Sports Truth Podcast, and Off the Rails. Hope you enjoy all the shows and feel free to comment, like, share,